Welcome to How I Raised It, the podcast that goes behind the scenes with entrepreneurs who've raised capital. We uncover the tips, tricks, and techniques they use to get investors to write a check. Strap in and turn it up.
Hi, welcome to another episode of How I Raised It, produced by Foundersuite.com. Today I have Cristina Rogers of Men's Gold Box coming to us from Austin, Texas. How's it going?
Hi, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, so we're recording this in the really weird time right now. We've got pandemic and lockdown happening, as well as protests and and riots. What's the scene in Austin as we speak?
Definitely everyone is still staying home, socially isolating. It's hard to watch. It's hard to watch your friends and neighbors go to the protest. And from my apartment, we have a really good view of the protest. I live very close to the police department downtown. And it's hard to watch, it's hard to watch the police agency interact with the citizens in a way that just doesn't feel like we're moving forward positively. So,
and for anyone listening, like in the future, we're talking about the George Floyd aftermath and then the protests going on. So just to put a time frame around this for the future.
Yeah,
interesting. How long have you been in Austin? Are you a native Austinite or did you come from elsewhere?
I'm a native Texan. I grew up in Houston. I did spend 5 or so years living in Salt Lake City, Park City, Utah. It's beautiful there. But I've been in Austin since 2014. Yeah.
What brought you to Austin? It's such a cool city, but what led you there?
It's a cool city. I was working in Utah, and I was helping a couple businesses grow, and I was getting a lot of traction, really successful, and was getting passed along from businesses to help them grow. I ran into a little bit of trouble wanting to start my own because the network in Utah is very, very strongly religious affiliate, and I do not have the same religious affiliation as a lot of the people in Utah do. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to come back to a friendlier place that I had a higher chance of success for doing business. Because if you are a woman who wants to own a business, the statistics for your success are almost dismal.
Interesting. This is cutting right to maybe a sensitive topic real early on, but I mean, you in our previous chats, you mentioned how, you're a queer Latina. Was it difficult being a queer Latina entrepreneur in Utah, or is it fairly accepted? I don't know.
So I know that when I lived there, Salt Lake City had one of the highest gays per capita, which I thought was really interesting. I did a lot of volunteering when I lived there with the out youth organizations. I've always loved working with kids, and I've always really loved working with queer youth because as one, I felt so underrepresented, and I felt like I really couldn't find role models, especially in business.
Yeah.
So that's something that's really close to my heart. I had trouble breaking into the communities because they're super religious based, but I was able to find Sky West operates out of there. I was able to find a pocket of pilots and made a bunch of friends that like to go do adventure stuff in the mountains, are down to take quick trips, across country. So I grew a strong friend base, but not what I thought I would gain, having been an extremely friendly person and never having trouble making friends. I was happy to leave Utah and come back to the southern comforts of Texas.
Yeah, interesting. Cool. Well, let's get into your business. So what is Men's Gold Box?
We are a luxury clothing subscription service for big and tall men, extra large to 4XL. It's my second big and tall men's business. And you can't imagine how limited options they have, and then how poor quality those options are, and then the customer experience to get to those options. It's something I feel really passionate about. I'm excited.
So it's your second big and tall. So how did you get into big and focusing as a queer Latina? How did you focus on big and tall men's clothes, right?
As a queer woman who's now a pretty regular size. So most of my life I was heavy. I was over 200 pounds. I was absolutely considered obese. And at one point, as a child, considered morbidly obese, which is really scary. You grow up and you don't fit in, and you wonder why people won't look at you the same, and you wonder why people don't treat you the same, and you wonder why going clothing shopping is such an emotional process for you, right? It's just fabric that we lay over our skin to get through our day. So why does this hurt my heart? So in 2015, a guy reached out to me on LinkedIn, and he was like, hey, I make six figures. I have a really great job. I used to be an ex-football player from college in the Canadian League. How come I can't order any clothing online that fits me and have it delivered? And he was a 2XL man.
Mm-hmm.
So we started meeting, and he ended up funding the business, and I built it, and we built it together. And that first business was called Maximus Tracks, which was really cool.
Okay, cool. And so then that business was acquired or folded? I mean, then you started number two.
Oh yeah. So we had some good success with that. We were at our 11-month timeline. JCPenney sent us an email because we had been wholesaling like train cars of clothing from them that they couldn't sell. They hadn't been able to sell in big and tall sizes. And we had continuously been purchasing larger and larger orders. So they reached out to us. They were like, hey, we'd love to meet with you. We're interested in how you are reaching this customer. And it seems like you're growing, We took the meeting with them here in Austin, and they were interested in, potentially acquiring us. They were on the nose that big and tall was one of their few still growing market sectors for them.
Mm-hmm.
And now, JCPenney is bankrupt, so the landscape continues to dissipate.
Good thing you didn't do an all stock deal or anything, or maybe you did.
Oh my gosh, right? So anyway, we left that meeting. My business partner, he wasn't really interested. We left that meeting. I thought that we had gained something really valuable, which was learning the kind of software that JCPenney is interested in purchasing, the kind of retail software that would solve the problems that they're having. So I logged that away in my mind. And then about a year and a half later, because of my business partners, and he was, I think, about a 320-pound black man, really big guy, so nice. I loved working with him. Very risk averse though. Very finance, very, tight and mentally constructed. He got the opportunity, because he'd been an athlete, to go pitch for this sort of athlete's Shark Tank. And there he ended up pitching Rob Gronkowski, Gronk, Mr. Patriots himself. And this was in 2017. He knew that he was about to retire, and Gronk fully understood the need for big and tall clothing, how hard it was. Everyone in his family is huge. He's huge. And he was like, all right, my contract with Nike is up in a year. I'm retiring in a year. I would love to be a part of this business. I want to invest $2 million for 30%. And my partner walked away from that deal. I know that he could not in his heart give away that much equity. And for me, it would have been no question. It's great. But so that let me know that I needed to separate my business interests from this man, because we had different ideas on how to grow this business. So close to that, we sold it for 17x what our initial investment. And I took my money and he took his, and I started a new one. I didn't sign any NDAs or the benefit of being like a smaller female in a room full of guys is when they're passing contracts around. Contract will easily pass right in front of me without stopping. So when I didn't sign the NDAs or the non-compete, no one flinched. And I was like, excellent. So I asked Laura, and was like, listen, wait until 2020 to do your launch to make sure you are really, really clear. And so it's kind of taken us to here.
Gotcha. Interesting. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. One of the probably strange and rare advantages. That's fascinating. And so, is it the same exact model basically, or with a twist? Is the subscription a new twist, or what?
I mean, same model with a twist. Yes. Like what I got, what I'm so grateful for with that first business opportunity was, with someone else's funding and financial direction.
Yeah.
I got to learn everything I needed to know, every step, right? I acquired the customers. I fulfilled the boxes. I selected the clothing. I found the inventory for us, So I understood every single step and where everything could become more efficient. And there was something in that business that happened that I'm pretty obsessed with fit. Both of my parents are aerospace engineers. And they used to talk about how we can measure the trigonometry of rocket fuel. And I'm like, but how come we don't know if a shirt is going to fit a customer before we ship it? Like, that just seems like we should be able to figure that out.
Yeah.
So I had started a chart where I had how all of my clothing fit, and then my customers would give me specific measurements, and we would deliver. I called it close to custom. That had us on a 3% return exchange rate,
Mm.
which is unheard of in retail. Retail returns exchange in store like 25%, online is up to 60%.
Yeah.
So we were nailing our customer needs. And then also just watching the interest of people as we moved along and seeing how much this product was needed in this marketplace for these customers just fueled me more.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Isn't there one national big and tall men's clothing store? I can't think of the name, right?
Totally. Exactly. And I love that you can't think of the name because no one knows. No one knows where Big and Tall Men shop. It's called DXL and it's owned
Okay.
by Casual Group.
Uh-huh.
Totally.
Gotcha. I'm not to make this about me, but I'm almost exclusively shop at J. Crew because I know the fit. And now J. Crew's in finally for bankruptcy, so I'm like having like anxiety about that, you know.
Yeah, J. Crew nails fit. So definitely I think the key to my success with my customer base is we spend a lot of time sending questionnaires and interviewing our customers. And a lot of them love the way that there's one specific item at J. Crew fits them, and they're happy to reorder that item all year.
Yeah.
But that's just not really fair as a consumer. You only get to buy one shirt from one place.
Yeah. You know, as this sounds bad, but like the older I get, the more I have my wardrobe of like 10 different polo shirts in different colors and, you know, shorts that match those. And it's
and I
getting
bet you look fantastic.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. I like your shirt too. For
Thank
people
you.
that are on the video, it's a cool.
Got a cute little pocket detail I love. And
yeah, a little yellow, a little red. Good stuff. All right. So did you go back? So let's talk about fundraising a little bit. Did you go back and pitch Rob Gronkowski your new business?
I was advised not to because of what would they call? Maybe trade secrets. I was advised not to reach back to him until this year. Yes. So so that's something we're super interested in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was he? I don't know the guy. I hate the Patriots, so but he seems like a character, right? Like, what was he like pitching? What was he asking? Is he pretty smart? I mean, I hate to diss him, but he doesn't seem like a brainiac.
Oh man, I hate to correct you. You're so wrong. Gronk is extremely intelligent. Yeah, I think he plays at seeming, you know, maybe more simple, more palatable than he really is. But I've listened to interviews about him and I've read about him beforehand. He is a savvy business entrepreneur. That is definitely part of my interest, like part of our interest. You know, I personally think he's incredible. I love football. I'm from Texas. Yeah. You know, I never missed a game where I went to high school and college because you don't, you know. But yeah, I'm proud of all of America's teams. But yeah, he's a really smart guy. I was not there for that pitch. My business partner went. As a small business, it's like, you know, expensive to send all of your employees to go to do things. Yeah. But yeah, he let me know how it go before and after, and it was just really exciting for us on the whole. But difficult for me personally to hear that we didn't want to move forward. So yeah, Gronk 2020. I hope so.
Well, good luck on that. And I shouldn't signal that I think he's not smart because I really haven't heard him talk much. It's just the image is like Gronk, you know.
Totally, yeah. He's got that one syllable name, and you think of sports players, and you think of concussions, and you know they're doing their best.
I know he pushes a lot of products. I know he like promotes other products, and so I mean he's got a huge following. So that, like, isn't he pushing some like cannabis thing? I've heard a few things, right? Yeah, that he's promoting.
I mean, I don't know if he's pushing any cannabis stuff, but if he is, he's a friend of mine. You know?
Yeah. Cool. So let's talk about what else you've done. I know you mentioned you've gone through a bunch of accelerators. Talk about those.
Yeah. So so I went through my first accelerator in 2013 when I lived in Utah. I did GE's Banking on Women, which was a really, really cool opportunity. I was young for it then. And then the next one I ended up doing was here in Texas. I did Bunker Labs that's hosted at Capital Factory. And I did that with Maximus Tracks. It is specifically a military accelerator, and I don't know how we got in, but I thoroughly enjoyed the process. I'm not in the military, either was my ex-business partner. Most of my family has been in the military. So that was fun. After Bunker Labs, we did in parallel, we did UT's Fast Forward, and we did Divinc's accelerator at Capital Factory. UT's Fast Forward was really interesting. It felt more about making connection with local small businesses and improving your sourcing. And so that was valuable. Divinc's accelerator was definitely, possibly the most, I want to call them the most valuable accelerator I've taken. And it's an incredible organization. It's run by a man named Preston James, and his teams are just there for you. They are so supportive of the entrepreneurs, and they do really small cohorts. It was there that my partner and I were doing most of our pitching. There was, we had won a pitch downtown for a group called Movement Black, and that was really cool. And then at Capital Factory, they hosted a $1 million diversity and inclusion pitch, and we took second place, my partner and I. I'm a queer Latina woman. My partner is a Black man, cisgendered Black man. And the first place winners was a white woman and a white man. And it just blew my mind. And I realized that maybe, even just going for the diversity and inclusion play isn't enough. We were, serving an underserved market, and they were in the bridal industry, which, so my partner attributes the loss to that. Their industry is just much larger than ours was. But it's just hard to see. It's just hard to do second place in a diversity pitch to two white people. Fundraising has been confusing. So Divinc was incredible. Post their accelerator, they give you a lot of follow-up, and they encouraged me to apply for MassChallenge.
Okay. So
I applied for MassChallenge. I got in, which was amazing. MassChallenge was giving away free money, equity-free grants, $500K. It's about a 3-month program, and it's a very strenuous time commitment. So I had to enroll my little brother, who had just graduated college in San Antonio, to help me make sure we reached all the course hours. And then what they're looking for winners is they want to see traction. They want to see that you are gaining through the process, even though you might not have funding. So that was a little bit hard one for us to figure out, but I knew that our customer base was so responsive. So we did a campaign on Instagram where we made a little contact page on our website, and we dropped the link to that and a little bit of script into the direct messages of big and tall men that we could identify by sight on Instagram. And it was just like, hey, we're building a company for you. We're not asking you to buy anything, but we just want your opinion, because you're obviously the most important person in this process. From that, we got a 69.5% return rate, which was customers, almost 70% of people that we dropped that script into went over to our website, filled out our 10-question form, gave us their email, hit submit.
That was Instagram or through email? That was Instagram. Okay. You're pinging
just
big and tall people you're like direct messaging big and tall people on Instagram, basically?
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they're identifiable by sight. So yeah, we found them. And I think it was that traction that helped us sort of prove our point about how much our product is needed in the market space. And then also I'm someone who shows up to class. I sit in the front row. I ask as many questions as I can think of, and I have follow-up after class, so it's also very involved. But MassChallenge Accelerator was one of the most incredible opportunities. They are truly funding underprivileged entrepreneurs. One of the other 100K winners at that 2019 award ceremony was a company called Liberty Collective. They're just trying to help stop human trafficking. And at the time, it was a one-woman show. And now MassChallenge has completely partnered with her to make it so much more, which is incredible.
And I am familiar with MassChallenge, but for people who aren't, is it a social benefit type of accelerator, or it's maybe give us the 50,000 foot?
Yeah. Totally. They have a couple different now. But the one I competed in was for-profit companies. I don't believe there was a cap, and you didn't have to have already made any sales, which was good because at the time we hadn't. What the process looks like is interviews and then pitches to continue to get to the next rounds.
Yep.
And as you pitch through the process, I believe they're looking for your pitch to continue to update. They're looking for you to show that you're moving along and nothing's going to stop you.
Mm-hmm,
And the money that you win from them is just gas in the tank.
Yep.
Yeah. They're full of resources. I couldn't say more nice things about them.
Cool. And that was in Austin, or was that in somewhere else?
Yeah, that was in Austin. They have MassChallenge. Obviously, it started in Boston, but they have it in Texas and Austin now, and I believe a few other locations. It's a real actual place where entrepreneurs can get funded, and that's what's up.
Good stuff. All right. And what else? Any other anecdotes on the fundraising trail? You're hunting. Are you raising right now in Austin, talking to the communities there, or what?
Yeah. So when the pandemic hit, we were literally about to launch, soft launch the product. We started doing that this month, which was great. But I thought we'd start generating sales and start making some income. So the couple months have been like a surprising turn, but nothing we can't handle. I am now making pitch videos, really sharp pitch video to send out to investors. Obviously, I'm looking to follow up with Arlen and Backstage, and send it out to a list of as many investors as I can. We're trying to raise $500,000, just because that would be jet fuel in our tank. But if we took in another 100K, we'd be rowing our boat in the right direction. So that's exciting for us.
Thinking back to the Gronk, a lot of athletes are now investors and angels and even VCs. Like Serena Williams, I think, has a venture fund.
Yeah, her and Bumble.
Yeah. What about like going after, kill two birds with one stone and try and approach athletes to both invest and become customers, and promoters, right? I mean,
absolutely. So obviously it's something I really wanted to do, and I did not know how I would do it, nor how I would get the resources or the funding to go take care of that. So I got really lucky. I was introduced to a marketing group called Trill Multicultural, and they're mostly headquartered in DC and in Houston. And they understood my mission, that I was trying to improve the visibility and the confidence of big and tall men in this world. Because in the US, it's 63% of men that fall into the big and tall category. And the most common shirt size in the United States is 3XL. And most people don't know.
Is it that. Really?
Yeah.
It's funny. Yeah. You think of it as a niche market, but it's 63% obviously the majority. So definitely not.
Yeah. Nike released a report in Yahoo Finance that labeled it as a $22 billion market this year, and one of the few that is still experiencing growth. And then Forbes put out an article too in the last few months that said that the big and tall men are looking for higher quality options. They want better fabrics, and they want updated style, which is exactly what we've come in with. Yeah. Sorry, I can't remember where I was going after that.
Yeah. Raising money from athletes. But before we jump on that, it seems like the pandemic would also maybe be an opportunity for you. I mean, you hear about what physical retailers are going to have to do to sterilize clothes in between people trying them on and all this stuff. It seems like mail, doing it over the mail is actually the way to go, at least during a pandemic, right? Or what?
100%. So when we decided to pull back on our soft launch, we moved forward the SaaS product part of our company. So like I said, with the last one, I was able to develop this system where I was only doing 3% returns and exchanges because I was nailing it. So since then, we've turned that into software. We've tested it on our site, we've tested it on other sites, and now we're ready to license it to companies. So that moved up that channel really fast, which was fun. But yeah, returns and exchange hurt your company so much more than you think. Not only is it's time, it's labor, it's label cost, it's potentially messing up your inventory numbers when you're restocking. Now it's also dealing with COVID procedures.
Yeah.
And then the part that you don't think about is what that feels like for the customer. It's putting on a shirt that doesn't fit, and in their mind, again, reinforcing that they are an unacceptable size and shape, which hurts. And then if they don't keep it, so most women, if something doesn't fit them, they'll keep it or they'll give it to someone else. They they are too afraid of the process of starting returns to want to go through with them. And then, you know, right, once something doesn't fit and you have to return or exchange it, in your head, you're like, oh, I have to figure out a return or exchange process. Okay,
Sure.
cool. And is this company going to be cool? Like, it's so much negative equity that you immediately build up in your customer versus what happens if you sent it and it just fit you. And they were like, wow, this is incredible. Awesome. Thank you so much. Done. You know?
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, what else? So back to Trill Multicultural, are you planning to use them to reach out to athletes and pitch athletes?
Yeah. So Trill was very on board with our mission, which was awesome. I didn't know how I could afford to get them on. We had a few meetings and they were like, listen, we want to move this project forward so much. We're willing to partner with you for equity.
Mm-hmm.
So we made a 2-year agreement where they are providing men's gold box services and are now equity partners in the company, which is incredible for us. There were 2 things I really didn't know. I was not an expert on executing when we started the business, which was finance. And so I have 3 financial companies that help our company, and then marketing. I just didn't know how to do that. So I filled my gaps, and that it's been magic. They have access to celebrity and high-end clientele, so they're able to make the connections I need, and they know how.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What advice do you have for anyone wanting to do something? Like, do you just negotiate, hey, it's X% of my company and these are the services I want over 2 years? Or is it something that they earn that equity? Like, how do you structure a deal?
Yeah, so it is the equity is dispersed to them over time. So at first we thought we would go the route of a convertible note, and I drew that up with my lawyer, and we looked at our, like, you know, how it would play out and our different fundraising possibilities. And it was coming out to be me giving up too much of the company. So we went with a stock grant for them. So they perform services that we have listed out in detail in the quantities that you know, we agreed on, and then they receive a chunk of business when what are those dates called? When the like maturity dates come up for the notes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Got it. I did a deal early on for Foundersuite with a PR firm and gave them like some equity, and it was a disaster. The firm was, I'm not even going to name the name, but it didn't work out. I had to use attorneys to get that equity back. Like, did you put any protective stuff in there?
We did put some protective stuff in there. And I also spent with this team, you know, my main guy over there, his name's Rolando. They're 100% Latino company. And we spent a few months getting to know each other, like maybe 6 or so months getting to know each other. And that was our families meeting. That was us taking long drives. That was, you know, dinners, drinks, and meeting with potential clients. And, you know, we got to see how each other were in action a lot. And when it feels right, it's right. You know,
Sure.
I'm definitely someone who doesn't need to second guess myself.
Good.
And in the future, if it, you know, ends up being a mess, it'll be the learning process I asked for.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. All right. Well, I won't keep you much longer. Any just additional words of advice, things that you know, you would give other entrepreneurs, or things that advice you would give your younger self to do better about, you know? Yeah.
I mean, it's right. It's that thing that I hate to say older folks, but I'm only 30. I just turned 30. It's that thing that older folks tell you and you don't think is important, and then you get around to it and you're like, oh, the journey is the destination. You know, it's it's enjoying the process along the way. You know, it's not squeezing myself with stress to think of answers for solutions I don't need yet, you know, just because as humans, we like to think up scenarios and then try to think up something else to solve that problem. When really we don't know when a problem comes up what resources we'll have in the moment. So it would be telling myself to breathe, enjoy the process more, you know, don't be so stressed about it. Don't be so serious. It's fun. It's just clothing, you know? And I say that it's just clothing, but I've had moments. There was a specific time where I worked at Lululemon, and I loved working at that company. It was a lot of fun. And I'm someone who truly relates to people by color, texture, clothing, fit. This is just how I represent myself to the world. And I love to help other people find their fit. Sometimes when you're standing around in a retail store, you think, whatever, I'm just folding stretchy pants, you know, nothing big is happening here. And a woman walks in and she's looking at bras, and I, walk over there to talk to her to let her know that our bra sizing is kind of complicated. If she needs any help, let me know, And she comes back to me to say that she's, interested. She's here. She's trying to get some new clothes. She wants to motivate to lose weight. And I was like, I got you, girl. I lost 80 pounds last year. I can help you. Let's do this, And she was like, I was like, what do you just want to get back out? You're trying to find new energy. What are you doing? And she was like, well, I lost my baby 3 weeks ago, and I just haven't felt normal, and I don't know how to be outside, and I just want to put on some new clothes and carve out a new life. And this woman was looking for something to replace the feelings of her lost child, the fulfillment of that in clothing, in color, in textures. And it just hit me so hard that day that, what I do is, I sell cottons and nylons, but how it makes people feel is what they need in that moment, and that's something that I love to be for people. I love to show people that you're not the shape of the mass of your bones and your fat in your body. You're the beautiful human in there who has every right, like everyone else, to dress and be proud of yourself and what you wear. So yeah, that was, and to Lululemon's credit, I, shared the story with my manager, and we were able to just give her the clothing that she thought she was going to purchase that day. Because they're a pretty generous company with a big heart. So
wow, that's good.
Yeah, it's impact.
I like that story. Let's end on that touching story.
Sorry, I forgot to talk about Gay Bear World.
Oh yeah, we'll drop that in real quick. Tell us about Gay Bear World.
Okay, so
Gay Bear World.
Well, so with Big and Tall Men, I didn't quite understand the marketplace, but eventually it was revealed to me that gay bears was a classification of gay men.
Define that for anyone who's not. I live in San Francisco, so obviously I know what it is. But yeah, it's a, in my opinion, a very handsome gay man who usually has a lot of body hair and is sometimes a little bit more muscular and is just really happy to be a man. That's how I would describe a gay man. Happy to be men. And so my business partner, while he was pretty religious, he had a very open outlook, and I loved that about him. We took a chance and we placed one $250 ad in Gay Bear World. And which is a magazine or a website? What is it?
It's a website. It's a website. And from that ad, we received 27 signups, which was amazing. The longevity of our customer at the time was 19 months. So we got those customers for $3,000, or we got those customers for a lifetime value of $3,000. So our 250 netted us almost $80,000 over the next couple of years. Wow. And it was just from locating that gay men, not more valuable. They do talk more about products. They share about fashion. They love to tell people, and they're proud of themselves. They're not afraid to be proud of themselves. So it was very fun to identify that that's a market for us. And I'm excited in the future to move forward with more. We have a local bar here in Austin called the Iron Bear, and I would love to do an event with them. The
Iron Bear. That's funny. Yeah. Good. All right. We'll end on the Gay Bear World anecdote, which I think is actually
you can cut it up how you need.
That's hilarious. Good stuff. All right. If people want to learn more, it's mgbxx.com. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That's our website. And I do a podcast with two co-founders. We're sort of an educational resource for queer kids, and it's called Queer For It. And we all met volunteering to talk about entrepreneurship to out youth here in Austin. And they have the coolest company. They're identical twins, and one is a trans man. So they're, I believe, the only identical twins that are different genders, which is so cool. They're graphic designers by trade. Their company is called Flaunt Streetwear, and they partner with trans individuals looking to get a top or bottom surgery. And they make a graphic, and they sell enough of that graphic that they can fund the partnership. And I believe they've had about 15 successful partnerships since they've been up.
Wow, that's great. There's an accelerator here, and I think it's based here, called Start Out. It's like a queer-focused startup accelerator. I don't know if you're familiar with those guys, but
I met them at the Women's Investment Summit that Alice puts on in California last year. They're a very cool group. They have tons of resources for queer founders. It's
amazing. There's probably an accelerator for gay bears out there somewhere in the world, or there should be.
Or if I could find the extra large to 4XL accelerator, I would be there. They'd look at me, but I would be there.
if it's 63% of the U.S. population, then clearly there should be a big and tall accelerator.
Yeah, it's 63% of men and 73% of women that fall into that category.
Interesting. Good. All right, Cristina, have a good rest of your day. And thanks so much. We'll catch you after you get Rob Gronkowski on your cap table. Okay.
Oh yeah, I'll give you the scoop.
All right. Over and out. Thank
Nathan,
you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bye.